Study section 12. Emotional behavior. Introduction. In this lecture, you'll be exposed to both physiological and characteristic reaction to emotions. Social role of emotion that develops at an early age is in the development of partnerships to achieve joint goals. Physiological changes associated with emotional changes reveal bodily changes, accompanied by various facial expressions like fear, anger, sadness, happiness, surprise, and disgust. Furthermore, we shall examine some methods in understanding the relationship between psychological functioning, emotion, and the function of the brain. Objectives. At the end of this lecture, you should be able to 1. Explain the relationship between the brain and emotional reactions. 2. Discuss biological aspects of emotions. And 3. Describe or explain the cognitive process and emotions. Contents. Emotions are the experiences that give color, meaning, and intensity to our lives. According to Watson and Telepen, 1985, all of the varied human emotions can be thought as different combinations of only two basic elements, positive and negative emotions. These are generally reactive to stimuli that are accompanied by physiological arousal and characteristic behavior. For instance, when we are afraid, we experience an acutely unpleasant feeling. The sympathetic part of the autonomous nervous system is aroused and fear shows in our behavior. The emotion of passion, on the other hand, is a combination of different feelings, biological changes, and behavior. Social aspects of emotional development. Even in young infants, emotions play an important social communicative role between infants and their caregivers. Caregivers regulate the infant's emotional arousal by reading the infant's signals, keeping in time with them, and adjusting the environment in order to maintain the optimal level of stimulation for the child. Field, 1994, calls this attunement. He says that without it, the child's behavior will become disorganized and chaotic. Another important social role of emotion that develop at an early age is in the development of partnership to achieve joint goals. Hoffman, 1984, outlined 4 stages in the development of this process. 1. Global empathy. Children merely pick up signs of distress from others through emotional contagion and feel distressed themselves. 2. Egocentric empathy. Children know the other is in distress, but they can react only if they themselves are in distress. 3. In the 3rd stage, the child begins to develop an understanding that the other person's feelings are different from his or her distress. 4. In the 4th stage, the final stage through empathy for another person's experience is developed. It is this ability to gradually appreciate the emotional perspective of other people that allows a developing person to cooperate more and more with his or her peers in the achievement of joint goals. Biological aspects of emotions. Some prototype experiments carried out in the area of physiological changes associated with emotional changes reveal that bodily changes are accompanied by various facial expressions like fear, anger, sadness, happiness, surprise, and disgust. In the experiments, the facial expressions were video recorded and a number of physiological measures were taken. Heart rate, skin conductance, hand temperature, and forearm muscle tension. The result of the experiment by Ekman et al. 1983, Levinson et al. 1990 showed that each post expression match specific physiological pattern. Low heart rate was associated with happiness, disgust, and surprise, while high heart rate is associated with sadness, anger, and fear. Anger was characterized with high skin temperature relative to fear and sadness, which were characterized by low skin temperature. Emotions and the brain. Psychologists apply three main methods in understanding the relationship between psychological functioning, emotion, and the functions of the brain. These methods are: 1. Lesion method. This is damage to the brain, which may be accidentally or deliberately inflicted through surgery in experiments on animals. 2. Chemical or electrical stimulation. In this method, the brain area is chemically or electrically stimulated, and there is consequent observation of the behavioral changes that such stimulation induces. 3. Sophisticated imaging techniques. These are being used to examine differential activation of different brain regions as a function of changes in emotional experiences or behavior. The hypothalamus, region below the thalamus, has a particular role in monitoring interval physiological states, e.g., water, temperature, hormones, and organizing appropriate behavior. The hypothalamus and septum process emotional and motivational information and contribute to the organization of appropriate behavior. The aspect of hypothalamus more involved in emotional processing is the amygdala. The amygdala is regarded as a central emotional computer for the brain. It receives inputs from the region of the cortex concerned with visual recognition and auditory recognition and sensory information directly from the thalamus. Lidous, 1993-1996. Neurochemical and the brain. Brain communication relies on various chemicals known as neurochemical for communication from one region to another. There are three functional types. These are: 1. Transmitter substances. These are released into the synapse of nerve cells. 2. Hormones. Chemicals carried around the body by the blood to affect organs that are sensitive to them. 3. Neuromodulators. Many of these are reptiles. They modulate the brain system, and many of them resemble addictive drugs like opium and heroin. Emotions on cognitive processes. This section is to examine the effects of emotions on cognitive processing. This involves interaction of current emotion with subsequent appraisal. Some research focused on how basic cognitive processes such as perception, attention, and memory are affected by emotional states. For instance, some research has shown that anxious individuals seem especially vigilant for danger or threats, whereas sad or depressed individuals selectively remember negative materials from the past, which may bear on the current loss. Some studies provide support for an involuntary attentional vigilance for threats in individuals who are anxious. Another study by Clark and Tisdale, 1982, indicates that bias towards the recall of negative material is associated with increased depressed mood. In their study, they noted that during the most depressed part of the day, subjects recall more unhappy memories, whereas during at the least depressed part of the day, they recalled more happy memories. This effect is known as mood congruent memory. Summary: 1. In young infants, Emotions play an important social communicative role between infants and their caregivers. 2. Hoffman outlined 4 stages in the development of the social role of emotions. 3. The hypothalamus has a particular role in monitoring internal physiological states and organizing appropriate behavior. 4. Brain communication relies on various chemicals known as neurochemicals for communication from one region to another. 5. Some basic cognitive processes such as perception, attention, and memory are affected by emotional states. End of study section 12. Thanks for listening.